Captain Velter stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the stars. His ship was huge. It was 3,000 meters long and had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Around him, 11 other ships just like his floated in space. They were the pride of the Xerian Empire. Nothing in the galaxy could stand against them. Today was supposed to be easy work. The Galactic Council had sent them to meet some new species called humans. These humans lived on a small blue planet near the edge of the galaxy. They had only just learned how to travel between stars. Their biggest ships were smaller than Zephyrian shuttles. "Sir," said his second-in-command, Officer Crix. "We have been watching these humans for 3 years now. They are not advanced. Their weapons use old chemical technology. Their ships are made of simple metal. They should not be a problem." Velter nodded. He had read all the reports. Humans were like most young species. They fought each other a lot. They were aggressive and stubborn, but they were also weak. Their technology was thousands of years behind the Zahirian Empire. The humans had asked for a meeting. They wanted to join the Galactic Council. It was almost funny. These primitive creatures thought they could sit at the same table as the great powers of the galaxy. They wanted to show their fleet to prove they were ready. "How many ships are they bringing?" Velter asked. "Just one, sir," Crix replied. "Our long-range scanners show a single vessel. It is about 800 m long. Very small compared to our dreadnoughts." Velter almost felt sorry for them. The Galactic Council always did this with new species. They would send a massive fleet to intimidate the newcomers. Then they would offer them a choice: join as a minor member or be destroyed. Most species chose to join. The smart ones did. Anyway, the meeting place was in an asteroid field. It was neutral space, halfway between human territory and the nearest Zephyrian outpost. Velter's fleet would arrive first. They would show their power. The humans would see 12 massive warships and understand their place in the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump," he ordered. The space around his fleet began to twist and bend. Reality folded in on itself. Then, in a flash of light, they were somewhere else. The asteroid field stretched out before them. Rocks the size of buildings floated slowly through space. And there, waiting for them, was the human ship. Velter looked at it through his main viewer. It was dark against the stars. The hull was smooth and black. He could see no obvious weapons, no shield generators, no massive engines like the ones on Zaffron ships. It looked more like a cargo transport than a warship. "Begin scanning," he ordered. His science officer, Kixnall, worked at her station. She was one of the best scanner operators in the fleet. If anyone could learn the secrets of the human ship, it was her. "Sir," she said after a few minutes, "I am getting strange readings." "What kind of strange?" "The hull is made of an unknown material. It is much denser than our armor, and the energy signature is very low, almost like the ship is absorbing our scanner beams instead of reflecting them." Velter frowned. That was unusual. Most ships showed up clearly on scanners. This human vessel was almost invisible to their sensors. "Any weapons?" he asked. "None that I can detect, sir. No plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no energy projectors. It looks like a peaceful ship." Velter relaxed a little. Maybe the humans were smarter than he thought. Maybe they had brought a civilian ship to avoid a fight. That would make things easier. He could deliver the standard terms for surrender without any blood being spilled. He opened a communication channel. He was about to speak when something caught his eye. The human ship was moving. Not toward his fleet, not away from it. It was turning slowly, rotating on its central axis. "Sir," Kixnall said, her voice worried. "The ship is changing." As the human vessel turned, Velter began to see details that had been hidden before. What he had thought was a smooth, simple hull was actually something much more complex. There were lines and seams all over the surface, panels and sections that looked like they could open. "Sir," Kixnell said again, "I think those are weapon ports." Velter stared at the human ship. It was still turning slowly. More and more details became visible. What had looked like a peaceful transport was starting to look like something else entirely. "Get me a full structural scan," he ordered. "Sir, I am trying, but their hull is blocking most of our scans. It is like they designed it specifically to hide from our sensors." The human ship completed its turn. Now he could see writing on the hull. His computer translated the human letters. 3 words appeared on his screen: UES consequences. That was an odd name for a peaceful ship. In Zephyrian culture, ships were named after beautiful things, flowers, music, art. But consequences sounded more like a threat. "Sir," his weapons officer called out. "I am detecting movement on the human ship. Something is happening to their hull." Velter watched in growing alarm. The smooth panels on the human ship were sliding apart. Sections of the hull were folding back like flower petals. And underneath, he could see the true nature of the vessel. Gun barrels emerged from hidden ports. Massive thick tubes that looked designed to throw heavy projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile launchers unfolded from concealed bays. Dozens of smaller weapons sprouted from every surface. Point defense guns that tracked and targeted automatically. "By the 7 moons," Crix whispered. "It is not a transport at all." The human ship was transforming before their eyes. What had looked like a simple civilian vessel was revealing itself to be one of the most heavily armed ships he had ever seen. And it was still changing. "Sir," Kixnall reported, her voice shaking. "Energy signatures are spiking. The power readings I am getting now are impossible. This ship has been hiding its true capabilities." More weapons emerged. Energy projectors that glowed with contained fury. Rail guns that could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. Torpedo tubes that looked capable of launching planet-killing warheads. "How many weapons does that thing have?" Velter asked. "I count over 200 separate weapon systems, sir. And that is just what I can see. There may be more hidden inside the hull." Velter felt his stomach drop. His dreadnought had 50 weapon systems. It was considered one of the most powerful ships in the galaxy. This human vessel had 4 times as many guns, and they all looked more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human ship." "Put it on screen." The view screen flickered. The face that appeared was unlike anything Velter had seen before. The human was old with short gray hair and scars on his face. His eyes were hard and cold. This was someone who had seen many battles and won them all. "I am Admiral Chen of the United Earth Space Command," the human said. His voice was calm and steady. "I assume you are here for our membership evaluation." Velter tried to find his voice. "Your ship appears to be more advanced than our intelligence suggested." Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "The Consequences is a Retribution-class heavy cruiser. She is our diplomatic ship." Diplomatic? Velter could not hide his confusion. This was the most heavily armed vessel he had ever encountered. How could they call it diplomatic? In human space, Admiral, diplomacy is the art of saying, "Nice doggy," while you look for a bigger stick. Chen paused. "The Consequences is a very big stick." Velter looked at his tactical display. His weapons officer was frantically updating threat assessments. The human ship could destroy his entire fleet. Its armor could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. Its weapons could punch through energy shields like they were made of paper. "How many ships like this do you have?" Velter asked. He dreaded the answer. Admiral Chen's smile grew wider. That is classified, Captain. But I will say this, every species we have encountered so far has asked that same question. Velter felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had encountered other species, and judging by Admiral Chen's confidence, those encounters had gone well for humanity. We were told that humans were a primitive species, Velter said. We were, Chen replied. A few hundred years ago, we were fighting each other with swords and spears. But we learned fast, and we have always been very good at war. On the tactical display, more information was coming in. The human ship's missile systems alone could destroy half his fleet. Its main guns could punch holes through a planet. And according to the scans, this was just a single ship. Your vessel seems designed for destruction, Velter observed. Yes, Chen said simply. We build our ships to end fights quickly. We have learned that the best way to prevent war is to be so dangerous that no one wants to fight you. Velter was beginning to understand. The humans had not sent a primitive transport to beg for membership. They had sent a warning. This ship was a demonstration of human power, a message to the galaxy that humanity was not weak. We should begin the evaluation, Chen said. Unless you would prefer to withdraw. Velter looked at his fleet. 12 dreadnoughts that had been the pride of the Zepyrian Empire. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds. Ships that now looked small and weak compared to the human vessel floating before them. No, he said finally. We will proceed with the evaluation. Chen nodded. Good. Shall we begin with a demonstration of defensive capabilities? Before Velter could answer, the human ship's point defense systems came online. Hundreds of small turrets emerged from the hull. They moved with incredible speed and precision, tracking imaginary targets. The targeting computers painted ships with laser designators. The message was clear. The consequences could destroy his entire fleet in minutes. Impressive, Velter managed to say. That is just the beginning, Chen replied. Would you like to see our offensive capabilities? Velter was not sure he did, but he nodded anyway. He had to know what humanity was capable of. The galaxy needed to know. The human ship began to power up its main weapons. Energy readings spiked to levels that should have been impossible. The main guns rotated to point at a nearby asteroid. It was a rock the size of a small moon. Fire, Chen ordered. The consequences unleashed a single shot. A projectile moving at incredible speed struck the asteroid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire rock exploded into dust and debris. Where there had been a small moon, now there was nothing but empty space. Velter stared at the empty space where the asteroid had been. His ships could damage such a rock. It would take dozens of shots and several minutes. The humans had destroyed it with a single projectile. That was our main kinetic cannon, Chen explained. We have 12 of them. 12 weapons that could destroy moons. Velter felt his confidence crumbling. The Zepyrian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. Their ships were feared throughout known space. But compared to this human vessel, they were children playing with toys. We should discuss terms, Velter said weakly. Terms? Chen looked confused. We are not here to negotiate surrender, Captain. We are here to join the Galactic Council as equals. Equals. The word hit Velter like a physical blow. The humans did not want to be protected. They did not want to be junior members. They wanted to sit at the high table with the great powers of the galaxy. And after seeing the consequences, Velter knew they had earned that right. The evaluation process was unlike anything Velter had experienced in his 40 years of military service. Every test the Galactic Council used to measure new species was designed around known technology, plasma weapons, energy shields, gravity drives. The humans used none of these things. Instead, they had developed weapons and defenses that operated on completely different principles. Show us your shield technology, Velter requested, reading from the standard evaluation protocol. Admiral Chen looked amused. We do not use energy shields, Captain. We found them inefficient. Then how do you protect your ships? Armor, Chen said simply. And point defense systems. Velter frowned. Armor was primitive. Every advanced species had moved beyond physical protection centuries ago. Energy shields could stop any projectile or beam weapon. Why would the humans stick with outdated technology? Demonstrate your armor's effectiveness, Velter said. Very well. Target one of our secondary hull sections with your plasma cannons. Use half power. Velter hesitated. Even at half power, Zahirian plasma cannons could melt through a kilometer of solid rock. He did not want to accidentally destroy the human ship and start a war. You are certain? Quite certain, Captain. Fire when ready. Velter gave the order. One of his dreadnoughts unleashed a plasma blast at the consequences. The beam struck the human ship's hull and spread across the surface like water hitting stone. For several seconds, the armor glowed white-hot. Then the energy dissipated, leaving no visible damage. Interesting, Chen observed. Your plasma weapons operate at approximately 15 million degrees. Our armor is rated for temperatures up to 50 million degrees. Velter stared at his scanner readings. The human ship had absorbed enough energy to power a small city for a year. The armor had not even been scratched. How is that possible? We learned early in our space age that the best defense is not to deflect an attack, but to absorb it. Our armor contains layers of materials that can store and dissipate incredible amounts of energy. What does not get absorbed is distributed across the entire hull. His science officer, Kixnall, was working frantically at her station. Sir, the human ship's hull temperature is already returning to normal. Whatever energy the armor absorbed, it is dispersing it somehow. Heat sinks, Chen explained. The absorbed energy is converted to waste heat and radiated away through specialized systems built into the hull. A single section of our armor can absorb direct hits from weapons much more powerful than your plasma cannons. Velter was beginning to understand why humans did not use energy shields. Their armor was better, more reliable, harder to overload or penetrate. What about your weapons? He asked. We saw your kinetic cannon destroy the asteroid, but surely you have energy weapons as well. We do, Chen confirmed. But we prefer kinetic systems for ship-to-ship combat. Why? Energy weapons are more efficient. They travel at light speed. They cannot be intercepted. Chen smiled that cold smile again. Energy weapons can be deflected by shields. They can be absorbed by armor. But a tungsten rod moving at 30% of light speed cannot be stopped by anything except direct impact with a target. Velter felt his blood run cold. 30% of light speed. The kinetic energy of such a projectile would be enormous. No shield could stop it. No armor could absorb it. Your main guns fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. Our main guns, yes. But we have other weapons as well. Would you like a demonstration? Before Velter could answer, the consequences rotated to face another asteroid. This one was smaller than the first, only a few hundred meters across. Admiral Chen spoke a single word into his communicator. Swarm. Dozens of missiles launched from hidden ports on the human ship. But these were not normal missiles. As they flew toward the asteroid, each one split into smaller projectiles. Those split again and again. What had started as dozens of missiles became hundreds, then thousands of smaller warheads. The swarm of micromissiles reached the asteroid and began impacting the surface. Each explosion was small, but there were so many of them. Within seconds, the entire rock was being torn apart from within. The asteroid collapsed into rubble. Then the rubble was pulverized into dust. Cluster munitions, Chen explained. Each missile carries 50 submunitions. Each submunition carries 10 micro-warheads. Very effective against large targets. Velter watched the cloud of dust that had once been solid rock. How many of those missiles do you carry? Classified, Chen replied. But I will say this, we have enough ammunition to fight a sustained battle for several weeks without resupply. Several weeks. Velter's ships carried enough ammunition for perhaps 6 hours of combat. After that, they would need to return to base to rearm. The human ship could fight for weeks without support. Your range? Velter asked. Our kinetic weapons are effective at distances up to half a light year, Chen said casually. Our missile systems have no practical range limit. Velter nearly fell out of his command chair. Half a light year. That was further than most ships could travel in hyperspace before needing to stop and recalculate their position. The humans could engage targets from distances so great that the enemy would not even know they were under attack. That is impossible, Kixnall whispered. No targeting system can be accurate at such ranges. Ours can, Chen said. We use a combination of predictive algorithms and real-time data from scout drones. Our targeting computers can calculate the position of a moving target up to 6 months in advance. 6 months. The humans could fire at a target and hit it half a year later, compensating for all the movement and course changes the target might make in that time. Your technology, Velter said slowly, is far more advanced than we were told. We are good at hiding our capabilities, Chen agreed. Most species see what we want them to see, primitive chemical rockets, simple metal hulls, basic radio communications. They assume we are backwards and weak. But you are not. No, Captain, we are not. Velter looked at his fleet. 12 of the most powerful warships in known space. Ships that had conquered star systems and destroyed entire civilizations. But compared to this single human vessel, they were nothing. Toys, relics of a more primitive age. How long have you been spacefaring? He asked. We achieved faster-than-light travel 200 years ago, Chen replied. Before that, we spent 300 years developing our technology within our own star system. 500 years. That was nothing compared to the millennia the Zephyrian Empire had been traveling between stars. Yet, in that short time, humans had developed technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. You learn quickly, Velter observed. We had to, Chen said, and for the first time, his expression grew serious. Our home system is surrounded by hostile territory. When we first achieved interstellar travel, we encountered 17 different species. 16 of them tried to conquer or destroy us. And the 17th, they became our allies. After seeing what happened to the other 16, Velter felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had fought 16 different species and won. No wonder their ships were so heavily armed. No wonder their technology was so advanced. They had been forced to become the galaxy's apex predators just to survive. The species you fought, Velter said carefully. What happened to them? Some learned to respect human territory and signed peace treaties. Others continued to be aggressive and had to be dealt with more, permanently. Dealt with permanently, Velter understood what that meant. Some species no longer existed because they had underestimated humanity. We are not conquerors, Captain Chen continued. We do not seek to rule over other species. We simply want to be left alone. But we have learned that the only way to ensure peace is to be so powerful that no one dares disturb it. The communication was interrupted by an alarm from Velter's sensor station. Kixnall was staring at her displays in shock. Sir, she called out. I am detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. Something big is coming. Admiral Chen checked his own displays. Ah. Right on time. What is coming? Velter demanded. The rest of the diplomatic mission, Chen replied calmly. Space began to twist and bend around them. Reality folded as massive objects emerged from hyperspace. One ship appeared, then another, then a dozen more. Velter stared in horror as a human fleet materialized around them. Each ship was different in design, but all were clearly built for war. Some were long and sleek, bristling with missile tubes. Others were broad and heavy, covered in armor plating and gun turrets. A few were strange angular shapes that hurt to look at, their hulls seeming to bend light around them. "How many ships?" he whispered. 47, Chen replied. "This is Battle Group 7. A standard diplomatic escort." A diplomatic escort. 47 ships that could probably destroy every fleet in the galaxy. And the humans called it a standard escort. "Sir," Kixnall reported, her voice barely controlled. "I am reading over 3,000 separate weapon systems. The combined firepower of that fleet could sterilize a planet." "Actually," Chen corrected, "we could sterilize several planets. But we prefer not to. Environmental destruction is wasteful." One of the new ships was moving closer. It was enormous, easily twice the size of Velter's dreadnought. As it approached, sections of its hull began to open, revealing weapons that made the consequences look lightly armed. "That is the UES Reckoning," Chen explained. "Our flagship. She mounts our latest generation of planet cracker weapons." Planet cracker weapons. Designed to destroy planets from orbit. "We developed them after encountering a species that hid their military installations underground. Rather than waste time with orbital bombardment, we found it more efficient to simply crack the planet open and examine the core." Velter could not speak. The humans had weapons that could destroy entire worlds, not just life on the surface, but the actual physical planet. They could crack a world like an egg. "Why?" he finally managed to ask. "Why build such terrible weapons?" "Because sometimes terrible problems require terrible solutions," Chen replied. 3 years ago, we encountered a species called the Devourers. They consumed all organic matter on the planets they conquered. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be stopped by conventional weapons. So, we developed unconventional weapons." "What happened to the Devourers?" "They are extinct," Chen said simply. "We cracked their home world and destroyed their entire civilization in a single day. It was the only way to stop them from consuming more innocent species." The human fleet was now fully deployed around them. Velter's 12 dreadnoughts were completely surrounded by ships that could destroy them with ease. But the humans made no threatening moves. They simply waited, their weapons powered but not targeted. "This is a very large escort for a diplomatic mission," Velter observed. "We have learned that diplomacy works better when backed by overwhelming force," Chen replied. "Most species are more willing to negotiate when they understand the consequences of refusing." Consequences, like the name of Chen's ship. Velter was beginning to understand human thinking. They did not threaten. They did not bluster. They simply demonstrated what would happen if negotiations failed. "Your species," Velter said slowly, "approaches diplomacy unlike any other." "We approach everything unlike any other species," Chen replied. "We have to. We are surrounded by enemies. We are outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. The only reason we survive is because we are more dangerous than anything else in the galaxy. More dangerous than anything else in the galaxy." Velter looked at the human fleet surrounding his ships. 47 vessels, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering. Ships that could fight for weeks without resupply. Weapons that could destroy planets. Armor that could absorb the full power of a star. "We should begin the formal evaluation," Chen said. "Unless you have seen enough." Velter looked at his crew. They were all staring at the human ships with expressions of fear and awe. These were veteran soldiers who had fought in dozens of battles, but they had never seen anything like this. "We have seen enough," Velter said quietly. "Good," Chen replied. "Then let us discuss terms for human membership in the Galactic Council." Terms. Not requests. Not applications. Terms. The humans were not asking to join the council. They were telling the galaxy what their membership would look like. Velter realized that everything had changed. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single moment. Humanity had just announced that they were no longer the weak primitive species everyone thought they were. They were something much more dangerous. 3 days after the evaluation, Velter found himself in the council chambers on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. Superians, Alarians, crystalline entities, energy beings, and dozens of others. They had all come to hear the report on humanity. The atmosphere was tense. Word had spread quickly through diplomatic channels that something unusual had happened during the human evaluation. Velter's preliminary report had been classified at the highest levels. Only the council leaders knew what had really occurred in that asteroid field. Captain Velter, announced the council speaker, an ancient crystalline entity whose voice rang like wind chimes. Present your findings regarding the human application for membership. Velter stood and activated the holographic display. Images of the human fleet appeared in the center of the chamber. Even as static recordings, the ships looked dangerous and alien. Honored Council, Velter began, I must report that our previous intelligence regarding human capabilities was completely inaccurate. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. The Alarian representative, Ambassador HFY, leaned forward in his floating chair. Inaccurate how, Captain? The humans are not a primitive species, Velter said simply. Their technology surpasses our own in every measurable category. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates spoke in dozens of languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up. The idea that a young species could be more advanced than the ancient civilizations of the Council was almost unthinkable. Order. The speaker commanded. Captain, please elaborate. Velter activated a recording of the asteroid destruction. The assembled delegates watched in silence as the human ship systematically dismantled rock formations that should have taken hours to destroy. Their weapons operate on principles we do not fully understand, Velter continued. They can deliver kinetic projectiles at 30% of light speed. Their missile systems can engage targets at interstellar ranges. Their defensive systems can intercept over 96% of incoming attacks. Ambassador HFY floated closer to the display. These specifications cannot be accurate. No species can achieve such performance. I verified the measurements personally, Velter replied. 3 times. The recording continued, showing the human ships performing micro-jumps. Several delegates gasped as the vessels disappeared and reappeared instantly across vast distances. Teleportation, whispered the ethereal representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. They have mastered space folding at the micro level. Their ships can appear anywhere within a star system without warning, Velter confirmed. They can strike and disappear before return fire is possible. The Alarian delegation was conferring among themselves in rapid hushed tones. Ambassador HFY finally spoke. Captain, what is your assessment of human military strength? Velter hesitated. This was the moment he had been dreading. In my professional opinion, a single human battle group could defeat the combined fleets of any 3 council members. The chamber fell completely silent. The statement was so shocking that even the translation devices seemed to pause. That is impossible, declared the Hegemar of the warrior caste, a massive reptilian being whose species had ruled through military might for millennia. No single fleet can match the combined power of multiple star nations. With respect, Hegemar, Velter replied, the human fleet I encountered carried enough firepower to sterilize multiple planets. Their defensive systems could withstand concentrated bombardment from dozens of dreadnoughts, and their mobility allows them to choose when and where to engage. How many ships did they bring to this evaluation? Asked the speaker. 47, Velter answered. And this represents what percentage of their total fleet? Velter consulted his notes. They described it as a standard diplomatic escort. Admiral Chen suggested they have much larger forces available. The implications were staggering. If 47 ships constituted a minor diplomatic escort, how large was the human battle fleet? How many such groups did they possess? What do they want? Asked the ethereal representative. Full membership in the council, Velter reported. Immediate recognition as a Tier 1 military power. A permanent seat on the Security Council. The Hegemar laughed. A sound like grinding stone. They demand what takes most species centuries to earn. What makes them think they deserve such status? Velter activated another recording. This one showed the human ship's armor absorbing plasma fire that should have vaporized it. The delegates watched in stunned silence. They have earned it through strength, Velter said quietly. Ambassador Keith Var was studying the tactical data scrolling beside the holographic display. Captain, these energy readings, they suggest the human ships carry more firepower than our capital planet's orbital defense platforms. Correct, Velter confirmed. Each human vessel is effectively a mobile battle station. How is this possible? Demanded the crystalline speaker. Our intelligence networks monitor all developing species. We would have detected such advanced technology. The humans are exceptionally skilled at misdirection, Velter explained. They allowed us to see primitive chemical rockets and simple metal hulls. Meanwhile, they were developing weapons that could destroy our best ships. The ethereal representative flickered with agitation. This suggests a level of deception that borders on the malicious. I do not believe their intentions are malicious, Velter said carefully. But they are certainly cautious. Admiral Chen informed me that humanity has been attacked by 16 different species since achieving faster-than-light travel. 16. The speaker's voice rang with disbelief. What happened to these attackers? Some signed peace treaties after being defeated, Velter said. Others were completely destroyed. The chamber erupted again. The idea that a young species had fought and won against 16 different enemies was almost incomprehensible. Complete destruction? The Hegemar asked. You mean conquered? No, Velter replied. I mean extinct. Several species no longer exist because they underestimated human resolve. The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a shroud. Genocide was not unknown in galactic history, but it was rare. Most species preferred conquest to extinction. The complete destruction of multiple civilizations suggested a level of ruthlessness that was deeply disturbing. They told you this openly? Ambassador Keith Var asked. Admiral Chen seemed to view it as a simple statement of fact. Humans do not appear to feel guilt about defending themselves regardless of the cost to their enemies. The Hegemar leaned back in his massive chair. Even he, a representative of a warrior culture, seemed shaken by the implications. What is your recommendation, Captain? The speaker asked. Velter had spent 3 sleepless days preparing for this moment. His recommendation would shape the future of galactic civilization. Grant them everything they ask for, he said firmly. Immediately. Without conditions or delays. That is unprecedented, the speaker protested. So are the humans, Velter replied. Honored Council, we have 3 choices. We can accept them as equals, reject their application, or attempt to delay and impose conditions. Explain the consequences of each choice, the speaker commanded. If we accept them as equals, humanity becomes our ally. They will respect council authority and work within our established systems. This is clearly the best outcome. And if we reject them? Velter's expression grew grim. Then humanity will proceed without us. They will establish their own sphere of influence. Other species will begin to question council authority when they see that a single human battle group can outfight our combined fleets. And if we delay or impose conditions? Then we insult them, Velter said simply. Admiral Chen made it very clear that humans do not respond well to perceived threats or disrespect. The Hegemar snorted. Are you suggesting we should fear these newcomers? Yes, Velter said without hesitation. Asterisk asterisk I am suggesting exactly that, asterisk asterisk. The brutally honest answer sent another wave of whispers through the chamber. A council military officer had just recommended fear as a basis for policy. Elaborate, the speaker demanded. Velter activated one final recording. This one showed the human fleet's demonstration of planet-cracking weapons. The delegates watched in horror as theoretical calculations showed what those weapons could do to inhabited worlds. Humans possessed the ability to destroy planets, Velter announced. Not just life on the surface, but the actual physical world. They developed these weapons to deal with a species called the Devourers. What happened to the Devourers? The ethereal representative asked, though its tone suggested it already knew the answer. They are extinct, Velter confirmed. Humanity destroyed their home world and every colony they possessed in a single day. The chamber was absolutely silent. The concept of planet-killing weapons was theoretical for most species. The energy requirements were enormous. The technical challenges seemed insurmountable. Yet humans had not only built such weapons, they had used them. How many worlds can they destroy? Ambassador Keith Var asked quietly. I do not know, Velter admitted. But Admiral Chen spoke of these weapons as if they were standard equipment. The Hegemar stood slowly, his massive frame towering over the other delegates. Captain, in your professional opinion, could human forces threaten Council worlds? Velter met the warrior's gaze steadily. Hegemar, in my professional opinion, human forces could threaten all Council worlds simultaneously. The statement hit the chamber like a physical blow. The idea that a single species could challenge the entire galactic civilization was beyond most delegates' ability to comprehend. They have 47 ships, the Hegemar pointed out. That I saw, Velter corrected. Admiral Chen suggested that was a minor force. He also mentioned that every human pilot is trained in combat operations. Every human ship is designed for warfare. Their entire civilization appears to be organized around the principle of military supremacy. Ambassador Keith Var was reviewing tactical data on his personal display. Captain, if your measurements are accurate, a single human ship could destroy a Council dreadnought. Easily, Velter confirmed. And they have thousands of such ships. Unknown, but probable. The implications were staggering. If humanity possessed even a few hundred ships like the consequences, they could challenge any power in the galaxy. If they had thousands, they could dominate everyone. What do you believe motivates them? The speaker asked. Survival, Velter replied without hesitation. Everything about human behavior suggests a species that has been shaped by constant warfare. They think like soldiers because they have had to be soldiers. And now they want to be diplomats. They want to be left alone, Velter corrected. But they have learned that the only way to ensure peace is to be so dangerous that no one dares disturb it. The ethereal representative flickered thoughtfully. A species that achieves peace through superior firepower. It is pragmatic. It is effective, the Hegemar admitted grudgingly. No one attacks an enemy they cannot defeat. So what happens now? Ambassador Keith Var asked. Now we vote, the speaker announced. All in favor of granting humanity full Council membership with all requested privileges. Velter watched as hands, tentacles, appendages, and energy signatures were raised throughout the chamber. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The motion carries, the speaker announced. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council effective immediately. As the delegates began to file out of the chamber, Ambassador Keith Var approached Velter. Captain, do you believe we made the right choice? Velter looked at the holographic display, still showing images of human ships. I believe we made the only choice that ensures our continued existence. You really think they would have attacked us? No, Velter said. I think they would have ignored us. And that would have been worse. Ambassador Keithvar looked confused. How so? Because then other species would see that council membership means nothing. That our protection is worthless. That real power lies with humanity. And now humanity is part of the council. Their strength becomes our strength. Their enemies become our enemies. And their protection extends to all member worlds. Velter gathered his reports and prepared to leave. He had one more message to send before his duties were complete. Captain, Ambassador Keithvar called out. What will you tell Admiral Chen? Velter smiled grimly. I will tell him that the galaxy is honored to welcome humanity as an equal partner in the Galactic Council. And what will you really be thinking? I will be thinking that the galaxy just became a much safer place for anyone wise enough to be humanity's friend.